Everyone, and welcome to the Standards Learning and Accountability Committee meeting. It's 10:04, and I would like to call this meeting to order. It's my observation that we do have a quorum. Oh, we have perfect attendance. Do we have any visitors or media to recognize this morning? All right. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you who are in attendance. Thank you for your interest in the work of the State Board of Education. Committee members, are there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Okay. Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Are there any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We do not have anyone signed up for public comment. Today, we have 4 items for approval and 1 item for information. For approval, we will begin with SLA item 01. Integration of American Sign Language, ASL standards into the 2019 South Carolina College and Career Ready Standards for World Language Proficiency. This is our first reading presented by Dr., and I pray I'm saying it right, Rocio Zalba,
Yes.
the Associate for World Language in the Office of Assessment and Standards. Good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thank you. And you did a great job pronouncing my name. It is Rocio Salva.
Thank you.
Do we have a PowerPoint? Do I just click on the? Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is an honor for me to be here this morning to present the celebratory work that the American Sign Language community has accomplished this past year. As the Ed Associate for World Languages, my purpose today is to seek approval of the revised American Sign Language standards and their integration into the current 2019 World Language Standards document. American Sign Language has long been recognized as a modern indigenous language in the United States and Canada. It is primarily used by the cultural members of the deaf community. Today, there are approximately 190,000 people in South Carolina that are deaf or hard of hearing, and 10,800 of those people are our students. In the last decade or so, the language has grown in popularity within the hearing community as it has become a second language of choice, particularly for students with dyslexia and dysgraphia. A very brief history of our ASL standards. They were established in 2009, and we went through the first revision cycle in 2015 and 2016. This past year, we stepped into that second revision cycle. As I was getting ready to lead this work on the revision, it became very clear that this would be a good time to consider the integration of the ASL standards into the 2019 World Language Standards as part of that revision process. The rationale for integration is the following. Since 2010, students in South Carolina are awarded World Language Credit when they take ASL in high school. And both the American Sign Language Standards and the World Language Standards have the same competencies and structural organization, and they're also guided by the same national proficiency guidelines, such as the American Council of the Teaching of Foreign Languages and the National Council of State Supervisors for Foreign Languages. Having this rationale in place, a series of steps were taken to make sure that this was the right course of action for the American Sign Language community. First, I researched and studied how and where other states house their American Sign Language standards. And I then proceeded to reach out to ASL educators, as well as members of the previous revision cycle, and ask for their opinion and feedback. All the data indicated that the merge as part of the revision would be a good course of action. This takes me then to our standards development timeline, and I would like to address two items on this timeline. The first is that before I could bring the idea of the merge to the panel review committee at the end of March and really let them be the ones who would do the closed study and make a final recommendation, I brought it to the board for approval on March 8th of this year, and it was approved. I wanted to make sure that our agency would support the option of the merger if that is what the ASL community decided was the best course of action for the field. And it ended up being so. The second is that the integration as part of the revision puts the ASL community in the revision cycle for the World Language Standards document. This means that in the year 2025-2026, the ASL community will be invited back to sit at the table with all the other world languages to revise the 2019 World Language Standards document. This takes me to the makeup of our committees that participated in this work. For the panel review committee, we had ASL educators for the hearing community. So that means educators who teach American Sign Language as a second language, as a world language. We had ASL educators for the deaf and the hard of hearing. So those are ASL educators that teach ASL as a first language, community advocates, and world language specialists. What is really unique about the makeup of this team is that each member brought more than one lens to this work. So within this committee, we had educators who are deaf, teaching to the hearing community, educators who are hearing, teaching to the deaf community, parents whose child is deaf or hard of hearing, children of deaf parents, and educators who are deaf, teaching to the deaf community. Another important piece to note that was very prevalent with the writing team is that there was an equal balance of ASL educators for the hearing community and ASL educators that work with the deaf and the hard of hearing. It was very important to have an equal representation of both of these groups of educators, as they're both equally invested in having our students learn ASL as a second language. A common reference that was shared through this work and throughout this work is that the feeling of isolation can be very real to the deaf community. So preparing our students and future professionals with an understanding of deaf culture and a level of proficiency in the language so they can interact with those 190,000 members of our community is essential. The writing team developed 4 criteria points for the revision and integration based on the recommendation from the panel review team. The 2 tenets that all criteria were based on were inclusivity and alignment. All modern language narratives and content needed to be inclusive of ASL and the deaf culture. And with alignment, all teaching and learning of ASL needed to align. The expected proficiency levels for an ASL learner also needed to be in alignment, and ASL needed to be represented in the same way as all other modern languages in the document. After the work was done, a survey of the work was submitted for public review. The criteria was broken down and made clear to the reviewers as to guide their assessment of the document. The reviewers had an opportunity to rate and give written feedback on the revision and integration. And this takes me to the last step and the feedback we received. The revision and integration was very well received by the ASL community. The writing team did look at all comments and ratings, discussed them, and came to the consensus to make some final revisions to the document. And it is now the document that has been presented this morning for its first reading. And this brings me then back to my original request for the approval of the integration, the revision and integration of the American Sign Languages into the 2019 World Language Standards document. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dr. Zalba? We now seek approval to, seek a motion to approve item 1 within our committee. Is there a motion to approve? Okay. Mr. Kowalski made a motion. Is there a second? Dr. Shields made the second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. I think I saw all three. All right, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm excited about this one. SLA item 2 is the approval of the online testing and Windows extension waiver request presented by Dr. Susan Dabney Creighton, a good friend of mine from way back, team leader of Test Administration Unit in the Office of Assessment and Standards, Division of College and Career Readiness. Good morning,
Good
Dr. Creighton.
morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the purpose of my presentation is to ask for your approval for the waiver requests that have been submitted by districts. As you probably know, the Education Accountability Act mandates that districts administer the summative assessments in a computer-based format. The EAA also requires that districts test during the last 20 days of their instructional period in each of the districts. The EAA also allows for districts to apply for a window extension, a test window extension. The window, as I said, is 20 days, and they can apply for more days if they think it's needed. The legislature passed Proviso 166 this year, which allows districts to apply for a paper waiver in order not to test for using an online format. The waivers were received November the 1st. We received 21 waiver requests from districts and one from a charter school in Horry County. A little less than half of the districts gave us their justification for a waiver request from online testing as technology needs. It could be because their alternative schools or group homes did not have the technology needed to test them online. Others, there's a variety of reasons why they requested to test with paper. One of your attachments lists all of their justifications for the request. Let's see, Greenville, Horry, Richland 1, Anderson 5, and Dorchester 2 requested waivers primarily because they have homebound students that they have to test with paper and alternative school sites that don't have the technology needed to test all of their students online. And Abbeville, the Academy of Hope, Charleston, and the South Carolina Public Charter School District indicated that they had technology needs that may not enable them to test 100% of their students online. Some of the districts indicated COVID impact and a preference for paper test as their justification for asking for the waivers. Lexington, Richland 5, Spartanburg 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 indicated that inexperience with keyboarding of their young students in grades 3 through 5 was the reason for their request. We also received 3 waivers for extension of the 20-day period to they requested 10 days, which would give them 30 days to test. So the South Carolina Department of Education recommends that you approve the waiver request for this year, for the 22-23 testing year.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from our committee for Dr. Creighton? Now, I seek a motion to approve item 2 within our committee. Is there a motion to approve? Roski, is there a motion to second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Dr. Woodall. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All, no opposers. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Creighton.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you, you too. The SLA, item 3 is seeking approval to approve the report of recommendations from the Instructional Materials Advisory Committee for the 2023 adoption cycle presented by Claire Luther, Ms. Claire Luther, Budget and Instructional Manager in the Chief Finance Office.
Morning.
Good morning.
Before I start my presentation or brief presentation, I'd just like to make a comment that I'm here today because Chris Stewart retired. And she had over 40 years of service with us, and she will be dearly missed. And I hope you will accept me in her absence. But we will carry on. The purpose of our presentation for the instructional materials adoption cycle is the subject areas to open for adoption for 2023 are based on the cyclical review schedule for the South Carolina College and Career Standards and the Career and Technical Education, the CTE core standards, and the expiration dates of the instructional material contracts and the funding available. The prioritized list of purchasing unfunded instruction materials are from the advisory committee, and the options to extend or renegotiate expiring contracts and the adoption calendar of events for the Office of Instruction Materials are also included, and we need those approved for today.
Are there any questions or comments from our committee for Ms. Luther?
I noticed that the attachment doesn't list the subject areas that, is that? They're up for review,
The subject areas start on page 1.
or,
You're looking at number 3.
right, that's what I'm looking at,
The academic areas are ELA, Science and Social Studies, and then it goes to the CTE areas.
So we're just being asked today that these are going to be subject to review for,
We're going to open these for bid in '23.
that's all that we're being asked for today.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood it exactly.
Okay.
Thank you for your answer.
Are there any other questions? We now seek a motion to approve item 03 within our committee. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Mr. Kowalski. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Oppose? Okay. The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Number 4.
Oh. Yes, you do. All right, the Standards Learning and Accountability Committee, item 04 is to approve the report of recommendations from the 2022 Instructional Materials Review Panel presented by Ms. Claire Luther.
Okay.
Morning again.
Thank you. Good morning again. Now we've come full circle from December of 2021. These are the materials that were recommended in December 2021, and we have gone through the full adoption process. And we would like your approval today, and this is the summary report and the public comments of these materials. And these are the ones that have been reviewed and also had the public review, and now these are the materials that are recommended.
Are there any questions or comments from our committee, from Ms. Luther?
We have the final list of the history books that were recommended, or I know there were some add-ons or clarifications. Personally, I'd like to see that before I vote on it.
No, the only
No, no.
changes you recommend.
Okay.
These are different than that. That's already
Okay,
gone through
I
the
just wanted
process.
to make sure,
Yes, sir.
clarity, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, we now seek a motion to approve item 4 within our committee. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the 2022 Instructional Materials Review Panel recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Woodall. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Shields. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 There's none opposing. The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Luther.
Thank you.
For information, we have item 05 from the South Carolina Department of Education's Early Learning Curriculum Review for 2022, presented by Dr. Abby Duggins, Director of the Office of Early Learning and Literacy, Division of College and Career Readiness. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Frierson and subcommittee members. I'm here today to provide an update to this committee about the results of a recent review process conducted to update our 4K CERDEP curriculum list. We currently serve about 13,000 CERDEP students in 76 districts across our state, and we have developed a list of approved research-based preschool curricula for use in the program. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's Big Day in Pre-K, one of the curricula on the current approval list, is being retired in 2024. 40% of our CERDEP districts use this curriculum. In September, the agency put out a call for submissions in order to update this curriculum list. In October, a curriculum review panel composed of experts in the field of early childhood education used a rubric for determining whether submitted preschool curricula are comprehensive, rigorous, research-based, and focused on critical child development skills. 2 curricula were added to the curriculum list: Scholastic's Pre-K on My Way and Frog Street Pre-K. In January, the agency will host a curriculum showcase for Big Day districts to make a new selection for implementation in their classrooms. Are there any questions?
We do not have any questions. We now seek a motion to accept and receive item 5 within our committee. Is there a motion? Oh, I don't need a motion.
Just an update.
All of that. Okay. All right, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
giving us that information.
Yes.
Does it need to be added to the consent? It does not. Okay. We now ask the committee members to approve adding SLA items 1, 2, 3, and 4. Integration of American Sign Language into the 2019 College and Career Ready Standards for World Language Proficiency, online testing, and Windows extension waivers requested. Report of recommendation from the Instructional Materials Advisory Committee for 2003 adoption cycle, and report of recommendations from the 2002 Instructional Materials Review Panel. Do I have a motion to add SLA 1 through 4 to the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we add items 1 through 4 to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Woodall. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Shield. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are no opposers. The motion carries. Thank you, and the items will be added to the consent agenda. Is there any other business before we adjourn? Okay. With no business, we will adjourn. Thank you, and have a wonderful morning.